The unwritten law. The galactic community had one unwritten rule that every spacefaring civilization adhered to without question: never disturb the humans. This was not a law inscribed in any interstellar treaty. It appeared in no diplomatic handbook. Yet it was perhaps the most universally respected principle across the 1,000 worlds of the galactic concord. Species that had been at war for millennia would pause their conflicts to enforce this simple directive when necessary. But why? Asked Supreme Commander Velker of the Valorian Empire, his scaled brow furrowing as he stared at the holographic projection of the small blue-green planet. They are technologically primitive. Their world is divided into competing nation-states. They have barely established a foothold on their own moon. High Counselor Thraz, a veteran diplomat whose weathered features had seen the rise and fall of empires, leaned forward. His ancient eyes reflected the light of Earth rotating slowly before them. The reasons are lost to time, Commander, Thraz replied, his voice a gravelly whisper. Some say the prohibition dates back to the ancestral wars when humanity fought alongside the progenitors. Others believe they are under the protection of the Void Dwellers. Velker scoffed. Superstition. We have conquered 17 systems in the last cycle alone. The Valorian Empire will not be deterred by ancient taboos. It is not simply tradition, Commander, Thraz warned. Every species that has violated this principle has vanished from the stars. The Krell Dominion, the Ashore Collective, the Mithridian Expanse, all gone within a single planetary rotation after they engaged the humans. Coincidence? Velker dismissed with a wave of his armored hand. Those empires were already in decline. Earth contains rare mineral deposits and biological diversity that would accelerate our expansion tenfold. Our analysts project minimal resistance. The chamber fell silent. The assembled admirals and generals of the Valorian War Council exchanged uneasy glances. They had conquered countless worlds, but none had dared to suggest violating the oldest prohibition in known space. The intelligence we've gathered suggests the humans are divided, continued Velker, gesturing to the holographic display that zoomed in on Earth's nations and borders. Their most powerful weapons are nuclear devices that would destroy their own atmosphere if deployed. Their orbital defenses are negligible. A single battle fleet could secure the planet with minimal casualties. And yet, Thraz persisted, the Concord maintains a quarantine zone extending 3 light-years in all directions around Sol. Even the hive mind of Taraxis, which fears nothing in the known universe, will not cross this boundary. Velker's patience waned. The Valorian Empire does not bow to fear, Counselor. We have studied human history extensively. Yes, they are unusually aggressive for their technological level, and their adaptability is remarkable. But they are nothing compared to the might we can bring to bear. He gestured, and the hologram shifted to display the massive Valorian armada, 50,000 warships, each capable of reducing a continent to ash. The humans have never faced anything like us. Perhaps, Thraz conceded, but neither have you faced anything like them. The warning fell on deaf ears. Within a week, the Valorian War Council had approved the invasion plans. The quarantine beacons at the edge of the Sol system were quietly disabled, and the vast fleet began its approach, cloaked by technology that bent light around their hulls. As they crossed the boundary of Neptune's orbit, long-dormant sensors awakened. On Earth, few suspected the danger that approached. Life continued as it always had. Nations squabbled over resources and influence. Corporations chased profits, and ordinary people went about their lives, oblivious to the cosmic drama unfolding. Or so it seemed. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, far from prying eyes, General Elena Vasquez strode through a massive underground facility that officially did not exist. Her footsteps echoed on the metal walkway as technicians worked at stations surrounding a central holographic display, mirroring the one aboard Velker's command ship. They've crossed the outer system boundary, reported Commander Jackson, not looking up from his console. 53,000 vessels, consistent with a Class IV invasion force. Vasquez nodded, unsurprised. How long? At their current velocity, 72 hours until they reach orbit. She accessed her neural implant, technology supposedly decades beyond Earth's capabilities, and sent a silent command. Around the world, in facilities hidden under mountains, beneath oceans, and in orbital structures disguised as communication satellites, systems began to hum to life. "Alert the Security Council," she ordered. "Initiate Protocol Omega." Jackson glanced up, his expression grim. "Are we really going to reveal everything? After all this time?" Vasquez looked at the display, watching the Valorian fleet's approach. "We've maintained the facade for over 200 years, Commander. We couldn't risk the panic that would ensue if humanity learned the truth about our place in the galaxy. But now we have no choice." She studied the alien fleet's formation, noting vulnerabilities and tactical patterns. "The Valorians are about to learn why the galaxy fears us. In the 2 centuries since humanity had covertly repelled the first alien incursion, an event history recorded as the Tunguska Incident, Earth's governments had secretly united for defense, while maintaining the illusion of division. The world's apparent political conflicts were largely orchestrated to conceal the existence of the Defense Directorate, an organization transcending national boundaries. "What about civilian casualties?" asked Jackson. "Minimal, if all goes according to plan," Vasquez replied. "The Sentinel satellites will intercept most of their advance force before they reach low orbit. The rest," she paused, considering. "The rest will face the Prometheus array." Jackson's eyes widened. "We're actually going to deploy it. It's never been field-tested. There's a first time for everything, Commander." Vasquez pulled up schematics for a weapons system that violated several laws of physics as they were publicly understood. "Alert all Phase 2 installations. I want every Valkyrie pilot in their craft and ready for deployment in 6 hours." Across the globe, in ordinary neighborhoods and unremarkable office buildings, hundreds of thousands of sleeper agents, civilians who lived normal lives while harboring extraordinary training, received encrypted messages through commonplace devices. They made excuse to loved ones and disappeared to predetermined locations where advanced combat suits and weapons awaited them. In orbit, seemingly ordinary satellites reconfigured, transforming into weapon platforms that had remained hidden in plain sight for decades. Beneath the oceans, massive hangar doors opened in the abyssal plains, releasing swarms of unmanned craft that rose toward the surface. And in Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and other capitals, world leaders prepared to address their nations with the truth that humanity had concealed even from itself. Earth was not the isolated cradle of civilization it appeared to be, but a heavily fortified stronghold whose inhabitants were feared across the stars. "The Valorians believe they're hunting sheep," Vasquez murmured, watching the final preparations unfold. "They don't realize they've wandered into a wolf's den." 2 days later, as the Valorian fleet approached Earth's moon, they detected strange energy signatures emanating from the planet below. Puzzled, Supreme Commander Velker ordered additional scans. "These readings can't be correct," stated his science officer. "They suggest defensive capabilities far beyond what our intelligence indicated." "Impossible," Velker dismissed. "Their space agencies struggle with chemical rockets. They have no energy weapons." Just as he finished speaking, the first Valorian scout ships crossing the lunar orbit disappeared from sensors. "What happened?" Velker demanded. His tactical officer's voice trembled slightly. "Unknown, Supreme Commander. They simply ceased to exist." Velker rose from his command chair, his reptilian features hardening with anger and the first whisper of doubt. "Launch the first attack wave. Let us see what primitive defenses these humans believe will save them." As 5,000 Valorian warships accelerated toward Earth, the planet's seemingly primitive exterior fell away. Hidden defenses emerged from oceans, mountains, and orbit. Humanity revealed its true face, and the galaxy was about to remember why it had always feared to provoke them. The consequence: the first wave of Valorian ships entered Earth's upper atmosphere in perfect attack formation, a crescent of destruction designed to overwhelm planetary defenses through sheer numbers and firepower. 5,000 warships, each armed with weapons that could level cities, descended upon what they believed was an unsuspecting world. They were met with annihilation so complete that Velker could scarcely process the sensor readings. Status report, he bellowed as the command deck erupted in chaos. Officers scrambled between stations as warning signals blared. First wave, eliminated, Supreme Commander, reported his tactical officer, voice hollow with disbelief. 97% casualties in under 60 seconds. Impossible, Velker whispered, but the evidence was undeniable. Where 5,000 ships had been, only scattered debris remained. A holographic display revealed the cause. A network of orbital platforms had emerged from stealth configuration, unleashing beams of coherent energy that sliced through Valorian shields as if they were mist. From Earth's surface, countless missiles launched, not the crude nuclear weapons they had expected, but something far more sophisticated. Analysis of human weaponry, Velker demanded. His science officer's hands trembled as she reviewed the data. The technology is beyond our comprehension, Commander. They appear to be utilizing directed energy weapons that operate on principles our scientists have only theorized. Their targeting systems are predicting our evasive maneuvers before we execute them. Velker's mind raced. How could they have been so wrong? Earth was supposed to be a technological backwater, divided and vulnerable. Instead, they faced a unified defense system centuries beyond what their intelligence had indicated. Launch the main assault, he ordered. All remaining ships, overwhelm them with numbers. But even as he gave the command, a new threat emerged. From Earth's oceans and hidden mountain bases, thousands of small craft rose, fighter vessels piloted with impossible precision and armed with weapons that ignored Valorian shielding entirely. Aboard the Antarctic Command Center, General Vasquez watched the battle unfold with clinical detachment. Deployment of Valkyrie Squadron successful, she noted. Prometheus array operating at 94% efficiency. The Valorians are launching their main force, Jackson reported. 47,000 vessels approaching in three-dimensional attack pattern. Vasquez nodded. They're persistent, I'll give them that. Activate the Tartarus Protocol. Throughout the Sol system, massive structures that had lain dormant on asteroids and moons activated. These were not mere weapon platforms, but space-time manipulation devices. Technology so advanced that most of humanity's own scientists didn't know it existed. As the Valorian main fleet advanced, space itself seemed to fold around them. Ships found themselves firing at empty vacuum, while Earth's defenders attacked from impossible angles. It wasn't simply superior technology. It was as if the humans were operating with a completely different understanding of physical laws. Aboard his flagship, Velker watched in horror as his mighty armada was systematically dismantled. Ships vanished by the thousands. Those that managed to reach firing range found their weapons mysteriously disabled or reflected back upon them. "We must retreat," urged his second-in-command. "We've lost 30,000 ships already. The humans are toying with us." Pride warred with survival in Velker's mind. The Valorian Empire had never retreated, never acknowledged defeat in its 1,000-year expansion. But this was not warfare as he understood it. This was slaughter. All remaining ships, full retreat, he finally ordered, his voice leaden. Maximum velocity. But even retreat proved impossible. As the surviving Valorian vessels attempted to flee, they found their drive systems failing. Something was preventing them from achieving escape velocity. A communication signal overrode all frequencies. On the command deck's main screen appeared a human woman, General Vasquez, though Velker didn't know her name. Valorian fleet. She addressed them in perfect Valorian language. "You have violated the quarantine zone and attacked a protected world. Under interstellar convention, this grants us full rights of retribution." Velker stared in shock. "You speak our language. You know of the conventions. We know much more than that." Supreme Commander Velker, she replied. "We know your empire's history, its strengths, its vulnerabilities. We've monitored your expansion for centuries." "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Your species has barely achieved spaceflight." Vask smiled thinly. "That's the illusion we maintain. The truth is more complicated." She gestured, and the screen split to show historical images. Humans working alongside alien species in ancient times, battles fought across unfamiliar stars, technologies exchanged. Humanity didn't evolve in isolation, Commander. We were once part of the galactic community until events forced us to withdraw and conceal our true capabilities. The quarantine exists not to protect us from the galaxy, but to protect the galaxy from us. Understanding dawned on Velcor with terrible clarity. The prohibition was never about protecting a primitive species. It was about containing a dangerous one. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you face the consequence that all who violate the quarantine must face," Vasquez answered. "Your remaining vessels will be escorted to the boundary. You alone will return to your empire with a message. Earth remains off-limits. The next violation will result not merely in the destruction of an invasion force, but in humanity's return to galactic affairs, an outcome no spacefaring civilization desires." Velcor wanted to protest, to threaten, but the utter devastation of his fleet had stripped away such impulses. "And my crew will be treated according to the conventions of war. They will be returned eventually, but only after they've been shown why humanity chose isolation and why the galaxy fears our return." As promised, Velcor's ship was permitted to leave, escorted by vessels that appeared and disappeared at will, seemingly ignoring the laws of physics. His mighty flagship, once the pride of the Valorian fleet, was now little more than a messenger vessel. 3 weeks later, he stood before the Valorian emperor, relating a tale so implausible it would have earned him execution had the evidence not been irrefutable. The loss of nearly the entire Valorian military in a single engagement had shocked the empire to its core. "And you believe their claims?" asked the emperor after Velcor's report. "That humans possess this level of technology?" "I believe, Emperor, that what they showed us was a fraction of their capability," Velcor replied. "The prohibition exists for a reason. I suggest we honor it henceforth." The emperor nodded slowly. "The quarantine shall be respected. All records of this incident will be classified. The official account will attribute our losses to a spatial anomaly, and the crew members still held by the humans. If what you say is true, they will be returned when the humans deem appropriate. Until then, they are considered lost with the fleet." As Velcor left the imperial chambers, he found High Counselor Thraz waiting in the corridor. "You tried to warn me," Velcor acknowledged. The ancient diplomat nodded. "Few believe the warnings until they witness the consequence. The humans are unique among sentient species, Commander. They possess not only technological prowess, but a particular psychology that makes them formidable." "What do you mean?" "Most species advance gradually, their societies evolving alongside their technology. Humans compressed millennia of development into mere centuries. They retain the survival instincts and aggression of their primitive origins, yet wield power that should belong to beings far more evolved. It is a dangerous combination." Velcor considered this. "You speak as if you have first-hand knowledge." Thraz's eyes, ancient and weary, met Velcor's. "Let us say that the Valorians are not the first to learn this lesson, nor, I suspect, will they be the last. The universe has one rule, Commander, one law that supersedes all others. Never disturb the humans." Across the galaxy, the news spread quietly through diplomatic channels. Another empire had challenged the quarantine and been humbled. The prohibition would stand for another generation, reinforced by the Valorian example. And on Earth, humanity continued its curious double existence, presenting a facade of division and technological limitation to the stars, while secretly preparing for the day when isolation would no longer be an option. The wolves continued to dress as sheep, knowing that someday the mask would fall away completely. Until then, the galaxy would remember, never disturb the humans. They are not what they seem.